Hello and welcome to 5 Minutes With, the bite-sized interview where we chat with some of retail's biggest influencers. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Amna, consumer behaviour and retail expert, as well as a senior lecturer at MMU. Amna, thrilled to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks, Matt, for the invite. Delighted to be part of the show.
Well, look, as the name suggests, we only have 5 minutes, so we do need to crack on with some questions. I'm used to presenting pre-retail technology show and talking about all the things we're looking forward to. Incredibly popular, or due to popular demand, we are back, and here we are reviewing what just happened at the retail technology show, as well as talking about some of retail's biggest subjects. So you were there, you were speaking. What were your thoughts, and what did you enjoy about the retail technology show?
I really enjoyed the Retail Tech Show for a number of different reasons. The first reason I really enjoyed the show was connections. It's a great place to make connections and to understand what the key technological innovations are within the retail sector. But aside from that, you have thought leaders who are exchanging and sharing knowledge, and that knowledge can help to inform practitioners and move forward with the ideas that are important in the sector. But there's something that was really unique about the Retail Tech Show, and that uniqueness came from the community that was there. I really felt a buzz and an environment and an engagement just as you walked around the show that is so difficult to emulate. And it really identified and demonstrated the connections that everybody was making, but also how invested people are in the Retail Tech Show and the community that it brings together.
Perfect. Love that. And you touched there upon thought leaders, a thought leader yourself, and we were thrilled to have you on stage at the Retail Technology Show, and you were talking all about customer experience and the use of mobile apps. For those who didn't get to sit in that packed theatre on that day, what were the takeaways for retailers?
The key takeaways for retailers is we talked about the notion of gamification in retailing apps and how apps need to consider gamification as a way to increase involvement with your products, involvement with your brands, and use them as a platform to encourage the intention to buy. And then you'll have a community of consumers there who want to engage. So some of the key features that we looked at on gamification apps are save boards, competitions and challenges, rewards. And all of these things ensure that the consumer spent more time on your app. And what we found is consumers wanted to be rewarded for involvement and not just purchase. And if you can get consumers actively involved in the involvement stage, they will buy anyway, because you'll become their first choice, because they're always on your app. They're always using your products, looking at your products. In the challenges, you're setting them tasks to make outfits that are from their products. And all of a sudden, you're constantly in the consumer's mind rent-free. And if you're in their mind rent-free, that's the place that you really want to be. And gamification really is the tool that gets you there. The games are the activities, and they create a glue, which is a stickiness for your product, your brand, and a community that you create. And if there was one thing that I would want everybody to take away is think about the community that you can create on your through gamification on your apps, because a community is key in making your brands work and making your products fly. So
yeah, totally agree with you. And I'm a big ambassador for really engaging with that community that you represent. You featured a lot on TV and across various media platforms talking about consumer trends. And you've just mentioned there around the importance of community and the impact of gamification. What would you say is the number one trend you've noticed in the last 12 months?
So there's a couple of key trends, Matt, that we're witnessing right now. We can't get away from the cost of living crisis. It's something that every consumer is thinking, and it affects communities and society disproportionately. If you're a low-income consumer, you're affected more than you are if you're a high-income consumer. And it's fundamentally changed the way that consumers think about value, because that's the number one thing that consumers are thinking about at the moment. But we used to just think about value as like bargains or trying to get the lowest price. We've seen consumers switch products, etc. The way I see the next 12 months shaping up is consumers are going to think about value and what else. So are you value and convenience? Are you value and personalization? Are you value and creating the community? So it's not just going to be about getting that bargain deal. They want more. The consumer fundamentally wants more. Their expectations are increasing. They're changing all the time. And the retailers have to keep up with that. And that's when I actually see the key trends coming in. And tech is a thing that's going to facilitate the personalization, the convenience, the adaptability, the agility. And tech is so important in creating that. But we can't lose a human touch because community is key. So what we will see is consumers want authentic communities. They don't just want the talk. They actually want to see that real, authentic and raw aspect of community. And we're seeing a lot of de-influencing in the market where consumers are really taking apart key brands and finding dupes, etc. So there's going to be this really interesting shift in evolution in consumption where everyone wants to get back to basics and back to that authentic consumer conversation. And I think tech has allowed that. You know, you've got a platform where you can talk one-to-one with consumers. You can talk a one-to-many. You've got a platform where consumers are talking to each other to co-create value for your brand. And if there's one thing that I tell every retailer to do is think about your community and how you're going to co-create value with those people, because those are your ambassadors and those are fans of your brand. So use them in the best way that you can.
So, I mean, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? You know, create that community, understand your customers, match their needs. But so many aren't quite nailing it yet, are they?
But it's a difficult thing to do, Matt, in reality, isn't it? Because
sounds simple.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's actually you have to be close to your consumer and you have to understand them. Now, data gives you a lot of that, but data can be misinterpreted easily as well. So what is it that you're going to run with and what's going to work magic with your consumer is the key thing here. And I think it's important to understand that those changes and shifts and evolutions continue to happen and you have to keep current with the consumer because they move very quickly. You know, you see the interest rates, they've risen 13 times consecutively now. That is a real issue for consumers because it changes the way they think about their spend. Yeah. And you really have to get them there. Now, one of the things that I always talk about is if you can create brand love with your consumers, it's hard for them to let go. If they genuinely love your products, if they genuinely love your brand and what you stand for, because consumers want to connect with brand values, you've got them. It's hard to get out of a relationship when you've fallen in love. It's easy when it's just a transaction and a one-night stand. Totally.
Very well put. And, you know, I follow you religiously on LinkedIn. I really enjoy the content you push out. There's some really, really interesting bits on there. And I think if anyone's watching this now, they really should try and search you out and just get some of those snippets of intel that you freely provide for us, mere mortals who are following you. So we really appreciate all of that. Now, one thing I did discover, which blew my mind, and you know, don't take that as an insult, is that you are a British powerlifting champion. This is right,
correct. Yeah? Yep, I am, or I was. 2020, 2023, I was a British champion powerlifter for the under 52 kilo weight category. And I hold the national deadlift record, which hasn't been broken. And I was delighted when somebody who I train with, who actually went for the championship, I didn't enter the championship this year. I've been far too busy. She said to me, nobody's going to touch that record, Amna. She goes, the best I could do was 145 kilos. You smashed it with 160. So yeah, 160 kilos is my biggest deadlift ever. First competition, lifted 160 kilos. For those of you that don't train, it's way over 3 times my body weight. An average gym goer usually is topping 1.5 times their body weight. So yeah, it was a lot of work, dedication, but I'm proud to have achieved that. And especially because there's no other British Pakistani that has ever achieved that. And I wanted to be a role model and representative to my community and to say
so impressive. Well, I think one thing I've taken away from speaking to you is whatever you do, you seem to have incredible passion towards it. And that is infectious. So it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be involved with you over the last few months. And thank you so much for all your support around the Retail Technology Show. We will continue these conversations, no doubt. But for now, I'm wrapping it up. Dr. Amna Khan, thank you so much for joining us and we'll chat soon.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt. It's been a pleasure.